The attic room door burst open in the middle of the night, and moonlight poured in, carrying with it a chill breeze laced with the scent of wild grass. Mia stood pressed against the wall, breathing heavily, her thin shirt soaked with sweat, one trembling hand clutching the edge of the half-open window, as if she were desperately trying to hold onto the last fragments of peace. Across the room, Leo had just closed the door behind him, a fresh crimson scratch running down his cheek, a mark from a struggle, and in his dark eyes flickered both panic and a longing he could no longer suppress. Neither of them spoke a word. Their ragged breathing echoed through the silent night, broken only by the pale blue glimmer of moonlight scattered over the distant lake and the relentless ticking of the old clock marking each tense second. Mia spun around, tears streaming down her face even as she bit her lip, refusing to let herself cry out loud. "You're insane, if anyone finds out about this." Leo's hands clenched, his voice raw and hoarse. "I don't care. Tonight, I can't leave you anymore." A faint sound creaked beneath the staircase, and both froze. Fear of being discovered set every nerve on fire. Mia glanced at the curtains billowing wildly in the wind, then hurriedly pulled Leo with her into the shadows of the corner. Almost by instinct, their bodies found each other, fingers locking tightly, sweat mingling with each shaky breath. Behind every pounding heartbeat were 100 questions that begged for answers. How did things ever come to this? How had they let themselves fall into such an impossible moment? And who would be the first to let go? Summer arrived slowly at the lake, as if the water still held onto the chill of the passing spring, but the pine woods and wildflowers surrounding Mia's family villa had already transformed into a riot of color. On her first day back, Mia stood quietly on the wooden steps, gazing out at the clear blue water shimmering in the late afternoon sunlight. In the distance, laughter and footsteps rustled the dry leaves across the garden. The whole family had gathered after years apart. For Mia, this place was always a land of sparkling memories, yet it was also where she waited for something new, something she couldn't yet name. She was 18, just graduated from high school with a report card to be proud of, but with no idea what direction to take next. The freedom of youth, mingled with uncertainty and excitement, made her heart beat faster, as if she were waiting for something truly special to happen. Even if it was just a small thing, it would be enough for Mia to remember forever. That first day at the lake house passed in a blur of lively conversations, the clinking of dishes from the old kitchen, the smell of her mother's cakes blending with the fresh coffee her father brewed. Outside on the porch, the younger kids crowded around the old slide, while Mia sat on the steps, chin resting on her knees, gazing at the lake sparkling in the evening light. She closed her eyes and listened to the wind, imagining that if every summer was a slice of time, then this summer would surely be different, even if she didn't know why yet. That difference arrived with an unexpected sound behind her, a set of hurried, heavy footsteps making the floorboards creak. Mia turned, blinking, and saw a familiar tall figure. Leo, her cousin, had just arrived, a backpack slung over his shoulder, his shirt rumpled from a long journey. Leo's deep brown eyes surveyed the scene, a slight frown crossing his face when he saw how much Mia had grown in just a year apart. "Hey kid, do you even recognize me anymore?" Leo grinned, showing off his white teeth and that familiar dimple on his left cheek. Mia laughed, shrugged. "You're late. I almost claimed the attic room for myself." Their laughter melted into the gentle evening air. Suddenly, Mia felt self-conscious in her thin, short dress, pulling the hem down over her knees. She couldn't help but wonder why Leo's gaze felt so different this time, not like a brother's gaze, but something else, something that made her heart skip a beat. That evening, the family gathered for dinner, sharing stories and old memories. Mia sometimes glanced at Leo and caught him quietly watching her too. It had been so long since they'd last met, but there was now something between them that felt both familiar and new. After dinner, the younger kids rushed off to play hide and seek in the garden. The adults gathered for cards in the living room, and only Mia and Leo stayed on the porch, sharing hot tea and old songs drifting from a tiny speaker. Mia propped her chin on her hand and asked, "Remember when we were little? We always fought when we came here, and you used to threaten to push me into the lake." Leo smirked. "If I'd really pushed you, you wouldn't be here now. Besides, back then you clung to me so hard, you nearly dragged us both under." They both burst out laughing, their voices ringing out into the quiet warmth of that early summer night. The breeze swept across the porch, blending the scent of wildflowers and the cool lake air against Mia's skin, making her shiver and, almost unconsciously, inch a little closer to Leo. "Are you cold?" Leo asked, his voice deeper and warmer than she remembered. He took off his jacket and draped it over Mia's shoulders, his hand brushing her arm and sending a shock up her spine. She tried to stay calm, but could feel her cheeks burning. "Thank you, I'm fine," Mia whispered, but she kept the jacket close, wanting to hold on to Leo's warmth a little longer. Their conversation flowed, sometimes playful, sometimes thoughtful, until they lost track of time and Mia's mother called her in for the night. As Mia got up, she asked softly, "Are you free tomorrow, or are you going to hang out with your old friends?" "I came here to spend the whole summer with family, so don't worry," Leo replied. Mia smiled, feeling a strange calm settle over her. She crept up to her room, shut the door, but couldn't sleep that night. She kept thinking about Leo's eyes, the warmth of his jacket, and his promise of a summer spent together. The next morning, birdsong and soft sunlight filtering through the curtains woke Mia. She changed into her running clothes, planning to jog around the lake, and saw Leo at the dock, adjusting the ropes on the boat. He wore a pale t-shirt stretched over his athletic shoulders, sweat already glistening on his brow despite the early hour. Mia froze, torn between running over and hiding. She couldn't say when Leo's presence had begun to make her heart flutter like this. "Up early, planning to run alone?" Leo called, waving. Mia grinned, running over. "Only if you're not afraid of losing." They set off along the narrow path by the lake, their shoes crunching on gravel and dry leaves. When they reached the curve by the pine grove, Mia suddenly veered off, dashing onto the soft grass and collapsing, out of breath. Leo flopped down beside her, panting. "You're trying to wear me out. You're the one who's overconfident. I'll win next time." They lay back in the grass, staring up at the sky, sunlight dancing on their eyelids. In that wide-open space, Mia felt every heartbeat pounding, every stray hair of Leo's brushing her face, the scent of fresh grass mingling with the unfamiliar musk of a man. "Hey," Mia asked hesitantly, "do you have a girlfriend back in the city?" Leo raised an eyebrow. "No, I don't think I'm ready yet." "Really? Really? What about you?" Mia shook her head, smiling. "I've never been in love." Leo was silent for a moment, then turned to her, his eyes so deep Mia felt she might drown in them. But in an instant, her mother's phone rang, snapping them both back to reality. The days that followed were golden with sunlight on the lake. The family had picnics, rowed boats, played water volleyball. Mia and Leo grew ever closer, always together, two pieces fitting perfectly. Every time they climbed onto the dock, Mia would pretend to slip, forcing Leo to catch her, his strong hands and the warmth of his skin making her breathless. One afternoon, Leo invited Mia to swim out to the middle of the lake. They shrugged off their jackets, left in nothing but thin swimsuits, the cold water raising goosebumps on their skin, but Leo's gaze lingered on Mia, amazed. She knew her body had changed, slimmer waist, fuller chest, long legs glimmering under the water. What thrilled Mia most was that Leo couldn't take his eyes off her. They swam to the floating platform in the lake, sitting side by side with their feet dangling in the water. Leo told stories of his first year at university. Mia listened, giggling at his tales of fleeting student romances. Sometimes Leo rested his hand on her shoulder, not thinking much of it, but each time Mia's heart raced and she felt herself melt under the soft summer sun. Suddenly, rain began to fall, big drops splashing on the water. Leo pulled Mia close, their bodies pressed together in the chilly shower. Mia shivered, not sure if it was the cold or something bigger than anything she'd felt before. By the time they dashed back to the villa, both were soaked, hair in wild tangles. Leo pulled Mia into the shared bathroom on the ground floor and started drying her hair with a towel, his fingers moving gently through each strand. Their eyes met in the mirror, a gaze full of unnamed longing, both hesitant and fierce. "You should change, or you'll catch a cold," Leo murmured. "You too," Mia replied, eyes never leaving his for even a second. That moment seemed to last forever, until Mia's mother knocked and called them to dinner. They stepped out quietly, still haunted by the memory of skin brushing skin, wet hair, and hot breath on ears. That night, the family gathered for a movie in the living room. Mia and Leo sat close on the sofa, a thin blanket over both their laps. Mia's legs, without thinking, stretched over Leo's, and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders in a gesture both protective and tender. They said nothing, listening only to the film and the pounding of their own hearts. When the movie ended and everyone drifted off to bed, Leo stretched and leaned in to whisper in Mia's ear. "Good night, kiddo." "Good night, Leo." Mia lingered at her bedroom door, clutching Leo's jacket, not wanting to let go. She knew this summer was only just beginning, but nothing was the same as the summers before. The anticipation, confusion, strange new feelings, and unspoken longing. All of it was growing, right there by the familiar lake, between two souls who once thought they were only cousins. And in that one brief moment, she realized she no longer wanted this summer to ever end. In the days after the first summer rain, the lake house was wrapped in a strange, gentle warmth. Mia's family grew busier. Her parents had to return to the city for sudden business, leaving only her grandparents and the little kids to look after the villa. The absence of adults became a strange excuse, drawing Mia and Leo closer. No one to notice, no reminders to go to bed early. Just long nights and the carefree freedom of youth. That evening, clouds gathered but didn't break. Mia stood on the balcony, hair loose and flowing, dressed in a pale satin nightgown so soft and thin that the golden light of sunset shining through the curtain made her skin glow. Leo, watching from the kitchen, was caught off guard. He never imagined his little cousin could change so much. Those trembling curves beneath the thin fabric, narrow shoulders now leading to full, shapely legs. Mia noticed Leo looking and turned, her dark eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief. "Why are you staring like that? Never seen a girl in a nightgown?" Leo grinned awkwardly, hiding in the kitchen to fetch ice. "I just didn't think you'd wear something like that in front of me." Mia pouted and pulled a chair close to the table, pouring 2 glasses of wine she'd secretly snuck from the old cellar. "No one's going to check on us tonight. Drink with me, let's celebrate summer." Leo shrugged, taking the glass, his eyes still unable to hide the surprise and curiosity at Mia's transformation. "You've really grown up, huh? Now you're trying to get me drunk." The glasses clinked with a crisp chime in the silent house. They leaned back in their chairs, feet up on the wooden table, gazing at the purple dusk falling outside. Mia took a sip, wine burning on her tongue, warming her throat and blurring her vision a little. "Tell me about your college love life. Any hot girls confessed to you yet?" Leo laughed, pretending to be indifferent. "Nothing but nonsense. No one wants to confess to me. I study, play sports, crash out at night." "Liar. I don't believe you." Mia gave him a side-eye, giggling, her head resting lightly on the back of the chair, her hair brushing Leo's shoulder. "And you?" Leo countered. "Got any crushes at school?" Mia grew quiet, lips pressed together. "There have been boys who liked me, but I never wanted to try. I don't want to love just for the sake of it." A long silence followed, filled only by the ticking of the old clock in the living room. Leo could feel Mia's hot breath beside him, the fragile skin so close. "If you could choose, what would your first love be like?" Mia looked up, her eyes soft and earnest. "I want someone who makes my heart race, but also someone who listens, someone patient, and what? And someone who can keep my secrets." The last words drifted into the air, but both knew that the secret had already begun to grow, from the touches, the glances they couldn't suppress when alone together. Night fell quickly on the villa. After a simple dinner, the grandparents put the kids to bed early, and Mia and Leo quietly gathered firewood, lighting the fireplace in the living room. Orange flames danced across the walls, outlining every feature and curve. Everything grew hazy and mysterious. Mia wrapped herself in a thin sweater, but her bare feet curled on the rug against the cold. Leo sat close, his hand unconsciously resting on her shoulder, rubbing gently in an instinctive, protective gesture. "Are you cold?" he asked, his breath brushing her hair. Mia only nodded, eyes fixed on the fire but stealing glances at Leo. A quiet stretched between them, then Mia suddenly rested her head on his shoulder. Leo tensed, but then wrapped his arm around her, squeezing gently in a comforting embrace. "Something on your mind?" "No, it's just, I like this feeling. Sitting next to you, it's so warm." Outside, the wind whistled through the pines, darkness pressing in on the lake house. Inside, only 2 bodies remained by the fire, flames crackling, the scent of pine wood heavy in the air. Mia closed her eyes, whispered, "If I fall asleep here, will you carry me to my room?" Leo laughed softly, a bit flustered. "Why don't you try and see?" Mia didn't answer. She leaned further into his chest, her breath quickening, trembling as if she knew she was doing something both foolish and reckless. Leo stroked her hair gently, feeling their breaths merge in the empty room. Suddenly, the lights went out. Only the faint glow of the fire remained. "Damn, is it a blackout?" Leo muttered, starting to stand, but Mia gripped his hand tightly. "Don't go, stay with me a little longer." Darkness fell like a thin curtain, blurring all boundaries. Leo sat down again, Mia's hands wrapped around his waist, pulling him closer. In that moment, by the flickering firelight, Mia's lips brushed Leo's neck, a touch as light as air, enough to send blood rushing to his face. "You," Leo's breath caught, voice rough. "I'm sorry, I just wanted to try," Mia whispered, cheeks burning. Leo turned to face her in the dark. For a few seconds, neither spoke, then, without another word, they closed the last gap between their lips, sharing a first kiss, hesitant, clumsy yet searing hot. The taste of wine, fire, and skin blended together, overwhelming every sense. Mia trembled, her soft lips pressed to Leo's, her tongue grazing his, uncertain but lingering as if searching for something deeper. Leo responded, his hand sliding down Mia's back, pulling her close, feeling her heartbeat pounding against his chest. The kiss lasted until they were both breathless. Mia rested her head on Leo's shoulder, gasping. "I'm sorry, I don't know why." Leo shook his head, kissing her hair. "Don't apologize, I didn't want to stop either." The fire burned low, only a faint golden light warming their bodies. Mia pressed her cheek to Leo's neck and whispered, "If I sleep here now, will you mind?" "No, stay." She curled into his arms like a kitten, her bare legs draped across his lap. Leo pulled the blanket over them, arms wrapping Mia tight against his chest, feeling skin to skin through the thin fabric. Mia's breath quickened, her fingers playing with the hem of Leo's shirt, her lips searching for the hollow of his neck, leaving the faintest kiss that made Leo hold her even tighter. "I like being held by you," Leo murmured in her ear. "If you like it, you can hold me all night." The fire crackled, rain whispered outside, and their hearts beat together. A secret music that belonged to them alone, unknown to anyone else in the house. That night, Mia fell asleep in Leo's arms, her face resting on his chest, her hand gripping his shirt as if never wanting to let go. Leo stroked her hair for a long time, his mind a tangled storm, guilt, longing, the knowledge that every boundary had begun to fade the moment their lips met. In the morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, bathing their entwined bodies on the rug before the fireplace. Mia awoke, her head pillowed on Leo's chest, feeling a warmth and safety she'd never known before. She stretched, hugged Leo tighter one last time, then gently slipped out of his embrace to avoid being discovered by the grandparents or the kids. Leo woke not long after, feeling the lingering warmth on the pillow, Mia's scent clinging to his shirt. He sat quietly, remembering every touch, every breath, and that first kiss, so vivid that just closing his eyes brought the memory flooding back, making him shiver with a mix of joy and fear. The whole day, Mia and Leo could hardly look at each other, but every time they passed, they felt the invisible thread pulling them close. At lunch, Mia accidentally brushed Leo's hand when reaching for bread, and both jolted as if shocked. Leo looked away quickly. Mia blushed and forced a smile for the grandparents. That afternoon, the house was left to the two of them when the grandparents took the kids next door. Mia invited Leo to the attic to look for old things, though it was just an excuse to be alone together. The attic was dusty, but golden sunlight through the small window made the space glow with an odd warmth. Mia opened an old trunk, pulling out childhood photos, moments of swimming in the lake, climbing trees, muddy faces. Leo sat beside her, watching Mia laugh, her eyes shining. "You looked like a cotton ball back then, you know." "And I'm not a cotton ball now." Leo held a photo up to her face, realizing that little girl had become a young woman, deep eyes, red lips, round shoulders he couldn't stop staring at. Suddenly, Mia placed her hand over Leo's, squeezing. "Thank you for always being with me." Leo didn't answer. He bent down and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, lingering longer than usual. This time, Mia raised her face and pressed a kiss to his cheek. "If it weren't for you, I might never have dared to grow up." Leo squeezed her hand, pulling her into his arms, letting instinct take over for the first time. "I never thought I'd go this far either." They held each other tightly for a long time, as if letting go would shatter everything. That night, the air turned cold, the villa silent as if lost in deep sleep. Mia lay in bed, unable to sleep, her mind spinning with memories of touches, kisses, the strange, safe feeling next to Leo. She knew she had crossed a line, knew she could never go back to being an innocent girl, and knew for certain that tomorrow night she'd seek out the fireplace, seek out his embrace where every secret belonged to them alone. After that first night sleeping beside Leo by the fireplace, everything at Lake House seemed to move in slow motion for Mia. Every light, every shadowed corner pulsed with a tension she couldn't name. There were days when the two of them would simply wander quietly around the garden together or read side by side on the porch, neither daring to speak of what had happened in the dark. Yet, no matter how they tried to avoid it, the secret longing between them only grew, like an underground current that would explode at the slightest crack. Early one morning, just as the sun barely touched the sky, Mia was woken by a gentle knock on her door. "Are you up? I made coffee." Leo's voice drifted in, softer than usual. Mia slipped on a thin robe, let her hair fall loose, and opened the door. Leo stepped inside, carrying 2 steaming mugs, a quiet happiness shining in his eyes. "Did you sleep well last night?" "Not really. I kept having weird dreams I can't explain." Leo sat at the edge of her bed, his gaze curious. "What kind of dreams?" Mia lowered her head, cheeks flushing bright red. "You guess. If it was about me, I just woke up from the same kind of dream." They fell silent, the ticking of the clock suddenly loud in the attic room. Mia giggled, sipping her coffee to hide her embarrassment. "If it's only a dream, should we try it in real life?" Leo reached out, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear, his eyes gentle yet burning. "If you want, I'll never say no." The sound of the grandparents' car in the driveway snapped them back to reality. Leo stood, whispering, "Tonight, after everyone's asleep, meet me at the dock." Mia nodded, her heart pounding, not sure if it was from anticipation, excitement, or fear. Maybe all three. That whole day, they tried to act normal. Mia helped her grandparents clean, Leo played with the kids, but every glance was like a secret current running through them. That night, when the house fell quiet and everyone was in bed, Mia crept downstairs, slipping on a thin jacket, bare feet padding through the dark hallway. Outside, the night air settled in mist over the lake, and the wooden dock glistened under the moonlight. Leo was already waiting, in a white t-shirt and shorts, sitting there as if he'd been waiting forever, his casual posture betrayed by restless eyes. "You came." "I shouldn't have." But you did." They both laughed, their voices trembling like children caught stealing candy. Leo pulled Mia down beside him, their legs brushing beneath the cool moonlight. "Want to play truth or dare?" "Sure." Leo started, his voice deep and warm. "Truth, what do you really think of me, aside from being your cousin?" Mia met his gaze, no more hiding. "I think I've always been drawn to you for a long time, even though I pretended not to care." "Your turn, truth or dare?" "Dare? Do you dare swim to the middle of the lake with me, right now?" Mia bit her lip, eyes sparkling with mischief. She shrugged off her jacket, revealing a nightdress as sheer as mist. "A dare's a dare." Leo laughed, grabbing her hand and leading them both to plunge into the cold water. Under the silver moon, the lake wrapped their bodies in a chill that made every touch, every brush of skin, impossibly intense. Out in the middle, Mia clung to Leo's shoulders, her breath quick. "It's so cold. Let me warm you." He drew her close, their bodies pressed together, and not even the icy water could cool the fire blazing inside. Mia looked up, lips trembling, eyes shining with longing. If it was just us here, would you do something crazy? If you wanted, I'd do anything. Mia kissed him first, this time without hesitation. It was a kiss beneath the water, clumsy and wild, the salt of the lake mingling with the sweetness of their lips and a craving they never dared to name. They swam back to the dock, and Leo lifted Mia onto the boards, both bodies soaked and tangled under the moonlight. Mia lay back, hair in a wild halo, chest heaving, her thin nightdress clinging to every line of her body. Leo stared, mesmerized, his hand trembling as it traced from her neck to her collarbone, feeling the soft, hot skin quiver beneath his touch. Mia caught his hand, pressed it to her chest, her eyes never leaving his. "I'm not afraid anymore." Leo bent down, kissing her bare shoulder, his lips moving along each bone, every tiny freckle Mia used to hate. "You're beautiful. I've never seen anyone more beautiful than you," Leo murmured. In that moment, every boundary felt as thin as the mist on the water. The chirring of crickets, the gentle lapping of waves, all seemed to sync with their breathing. Mia pulled Leo closer, their lips meeting again, no longer just a kiss, but the melting of two souls, every touch, every breath laced with sin and hunger. Suddenly, a sound echoed from the forest's edge, snapping them apart. Leo wrapped Mia in her jacket, heart still racing, eyes burning. "We should go before someone finds us. If tonight is just a dream, I hope I never wake up." They slipped back to the villa, tiptoed to their rooms. Mia curled up in bed, cheeks burning, fingers still trembling from the feeling of Leo's hand on her skin. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the moon on the lake, Leo beside her, their breaths tangled with the night wind. Her hand drifted to her chest, remembering the warmth, the pressure of his palm. Leo tossed and turned, the scent of Mia's hair clinging to his shirt, the taste of her lips lingering on his tongue. In his mind replayed the image of Mia stretched out on the dock, her nightdress clinging to every curve under the moon. He bit his lip, breathing hard, letting his hand drift down his stomach, wondering, if they hadn't been interrupted, would he have dared to go further? And if, just once, he let himself slip past the edge of reason, could they ever go back to being just cousins? The next morning, something had changed between Mia and Leo, awkwardness and desire tangled together. They pretended nothing had happened, but their eyes always darted away. At breakfast, Mia wore Leo's oversized t-shirt, the hem hanging past her knees, making everyone think she was just being playful. Leo was flustered, unable to take his eyes off her soft figure beneath the loose fabric. Their grandparents let them plan their own activities as long as they stayed on the lake house grounds. Mia suggested they play Truth or Dare again, and this time Leo didn't hesitate. "Truth, if you had only one summer left to live, what would you do?" Leo looked deep into Mia's eyes. "I'd hold you, kiss you, and never let you go." They held each other's gaze, silent, both knowing that with just one more time, every boundary would vanish. That night, Mia slipped into Leo's room after everyone was asleep. She sat on the edge of his bed, her hand resting on his chest. "I can't sleep. I keep dreaming." Leo sat up, pulled Mia into his arms. "Stay with me tonight." Mia said nothing, just nodded, then buried her face in his chest. She shrugged off his big t-shirt, revealing a pale blue lace nightdress. Leo pulled her close, his lips finding hers. This time, the kiss was long, wet, hungry. His hand traced down her back, lingering at her waist, feeling the heat beneath the thin fabric. They lay together, touching more boldly now, Mia's hand sliding across Leo's chest, feeling his heartbeat pound beneath her palm. Leo kissed down her shoulder, each kiss burning away the last of his restraint. Their breaths tangled, their whispers growing urgent. I want you. I want you too, but not too fast. Leo nodded, pulling Mia close, letting her curl into his arms for the night. Even if they hadn't gone further, every limit felt as insubstantial as a dream. They fell asleep in bittersweet longing, holding on to the hope. If this is a dream, please let me never wake. Summer slipped by faster than any year Mia could remember. The lake house was drenched in dazzling sunlight and echoed with laughter across the garden, yet beneath the surface of this peaceful world were surging undercurrents, growing stronger, threatening to burst free at any moment. That morning, Mia's mother called early. She'd be returning to the lake house sooner than planned, to prepare for her grandfather's birthday. That meant only a day or two left, only a fleeting window of freedom and intimacy for Mia and Leo before everything would end. The news hit them both like a shockwave, though neither said it out loud. In their eyes, anxiety and regret flickered, shadowed by a growing sense of urgency. All day, Mia wandered the garden, her gaze drifting to the deep blue lake where so many memories were hidden, so many secret touches and stolen kisses. Leo fared no better, pacing the yard, pretending to tend the roses, his thoughts in chaos. He knew their time together was running out, and this might be the last summer they'd ever be allowed to touch without fear of being discovered. At midday, their grandparents took the kids out shopping, and the villa fell silent, emptier than ever. Mia sat alone on the small boat dock, feet dangling in the lake, the cold water turning her skin pink. Sunbeams fell through the trees, lighting her tangled hair, her eyes lost in distant thought. Leo appeared behind her, quietly sitting down by her side. He said nothing, just rested his hand on her knee, squeezing gently, a silent gesture of comfort. After a while, Mia spoke, her voice barely louder than the breeze. There's only today and tomorrow left. I know. If this were the last time, what would you remember most about me? Leo squeezed her hand, his eyes searching hers deeply. I'll remember everything. Every look, every touch, every word you whispered to me in the dark, and I'll remember that this summer was ours, not anyone else's. Mia laughed, tears streaming down her cheeks, equal parts joy and sadness, happiness and the urge to dissolve. She stood, pulling Leo to his feet. Come with me. She led him to the little rowboat. They paddled to the middle of the lake. A light breeze stirred, tiny waves lapping the sides. Mia sat cross-legged at the prow, her thin nightgown fluttering in the wind, sunlight highlighting every youthful curve. Leo couldn't look away. Every movement she made seemed woven to tempt him, to burn itself into his memory. In the middle of the lake, Mia let the oars fall, staring straight into Leo's eyes, her smile playful but her gaze blazing with longing. If there was no one else in the world but you and me, what would you do? Leo's voice was rough. I'd love you. Then do it. She didn't wait for his answer. Mia slid into his lap, legs circling his waist, arms flung around his neck as if letting go would make everything vanish. Leo's arms locked around her, his mouth found hers, no hesitation now, a long, wild kiss, pouring out all the longing, regret, and hunger. Their first touches were clumsy, but quickly grew bold. Leo's hand slid down her back, squeezing her waist, slipping beneath her gown to caress bare, burning skin. Mia shuddered, her own hands roaming Leo's chest, unbuttoning his shirt to reveal sun-browned skin, his chest rising and falling with every breath. Their lips parted, but their eyes never broke away for a second. I want you. I want you too. Mia tipped her head back, eyes closed as Leo's lips trailed down her neck, leaving feverish kisses across her shoulders and chest. The lake wind chilled their skin, but their bodies were burning. Leo lifted Mia, laying her down across the wooden plank of the boat, her dark hair spilled out, cheeks flushed from sun and desire. His hand traced up her thigh, under the edge of her dress, lingering at the delicate skin above her knee. Mia arched up, pulling Leo down until their mouths met again, clinging tight. Leo's hand slid up to her chest, feeling her heartbeat racing beneath the thin fabric. Mia gasped, breath hitching, chest heaving as she let herself be touched for the very first time. Leo paused, searching Mia's eyes. "Are you sure?" Mia nodded, pulling his hand down, placing it against her heart, whispering, "If this is the last time, I want you to remember me like this." Leo couldn't hold back any longer. He kissed down her shoulders, across her collarbone, his hands exploring every curve, every place no one else had ever touched. The mingled scents of sweat, skin, and the lake surrounded them, making them dizzy with a desire that had no escape. Mia clung to Leo's back, her legs locked around his waist, letting their emotions sweep away every boundary. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of their gasping breaths, pounding hearts, and the gentle slap of waves against the boat. The world had shrunk to just the two of them. Then suddenly, a phone rang, shattering the spell. Mia jerked, eyes wide, lips still trembling. Leo pulled her close, soothing. "It's okay." The ringing stopped, but the real world had crashed back in. Mia was shaking, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. I've never felt anything so real." They held each other a long time, letting the sorrow seep into every breath, every tight embrace. Mia smoothed her dress, finger-combed her hair, and in silence they rowed back to shore. As they stepped onto land, Leo caught Mia's hand, squeezing tight, wanting to hold on to the moment for just a little longer. Back at the villa, the grandparents and kids had returned. Mia retreated to the downstairs bathroom, standing under the shower for a long time, letting cold water wash away the burning imprints of their passion. But no matter how she tried, she couldn't forget Leo's eyes, his hands, his lips. That night, rain pounded the roof. Mia sat by the window, staring out at the ghostly lake, heart in turmoil. She knew there was only one day left, and then it would all be over. Maybe they'd never have the chance to touch again. The thought made her chest ache, tears falling for no reason at all. Leo couldn't sleep either, lying on his bed, listening to the rain, his fingers tracing the fading red mark on his neck, a memory of Mia's first kiss. He knew he'd have to forget, to become the distant cousin again, but just for this night, he let himself remember, let himself dream. Near dawn, Mia passed the living room and found Leo sitting alone by the fireplace, eyes tired but still shining. She slipped over and sat beside him, leaning into his shoulder. "If this is the last time, would you regret it?" "No, if I could choose again, I'd still love you like this." Mia clutched his hand, tears soaking his shirt. "Then hold me, even if it's just for one more night." Leo said nothing, only pulled her closer, wrapping her in his warmth through the storm, holding her as if, by holding tight enough, time would stop and summer would never end. The next morning, the lingering scent of last night's rain still hung in the air. The sky was overcast, the lake flat and silent, thin mist blanketing the garden. Mia woke with heavy eyes, her whole body aching, but inside her was a vivid, searing brightness, like the fading mark of a dream not yet gone. Laughter and voices echoed in the hallway. Her mother had returned. The lake house was bustling again, footsteps, the clatter of silverware, the children's excited chatter. Mia threw on a robe and headed to the kitchen, trying to act normal even as her heart still trembled with the afterglow of last night. Just for a moment, her eyes met Leo's. He sat at the breakfast table, hair still tousled, the red mark on his neck hidden by his collar, but his gaze burned with all the things left unsaid. Mia avoided Leo all morning, helping her mother tidy the rooms, peeling fruit, setting the little table for her grandfather's birthday. But every time they brushed past each other in a narrow hallway or touched hands while passing a dish, all of Mia's senses snapped taut. A wild craving and the fear of discovery tangled together, making everything unbearably tense and thrilling. Her mother told Mia to wear a modest dress and tie up her hair, but Mia deliberately chose a tight white dress, the fabric just thin enough for a faint shadow of skin to show beneath the yellow lamp. Leo noticed the difference in Mia. He couldn't keep his eyes off her whenever he had the chance, even as he pretended to listen to adult conversation. That evening, the family held a small party, the dining room glittering with lights, soft music from the old speakers, the scent of wine and grilled meat blending in the air. Mia sat across from Leo, sometimes stealing glances. Each time their eyes met, it was a slight frown, a tight-lipped, secretive smile. Every move she made was just a little bold. Sometimes she tugged her dress over her knees. Sometimes she sat on the edge of her chair to show off her bare legs. And once she pretended to drop her knife, bending down so her leg brushed Leo's beneath the table. Leo nearly lost his mind, fighting to keep calm in silence. He felt every touch, every glance, every breath of heat passing across the wooden table. The voices and laughter of everyone else faded into the background. His whole world narrowed to the silent, burning connection between him and Mia, an endless, secret hunger. When the party ended, everyone retreated early to their rooms, tired from the busy day. The lake house was quiet once again. Mia excused herself to put away wine in the attic, tiptoeing up the stairs. Leo waited 5 minutes, then went to look for a book. No one noticed. The attic door closed softly behind him, shutting out the world. Mia stood in the middle of the room, moonlight streaming through the window onto her body, white dress, bare feet, hair flowing, her eyes shining bright in the dark. Leo froze for a moment, his heart pounding, then he rushed toward her, unable to hold himself back. "You're insane, Mia. If I'm insane, I want to be insane with you." Before the words faded, their lips met, no longer hesitant but wild and hungry, hot as fire in their chests. Leo lifted Mia into his arms, laying her down on the rug beside the window, blue moonlight washing over her milk-white skin, every curve visible beneath the thin dress. His hand moved along her arm, her shoulder, down her waist, slowly hiking her dress higher. Mia arched, arms circling Leo's neck, her legs hooking around his back, pulling him close until there was no space left between them. Their breathing was ragged. Her hands moved to undo Leo's shirt, revealing the broad, strong chest she'd only dared to admire in the early mornings. Leo's mouth trailed down Mia's body, leaving burning kisses from the hollow of her shoulder to her collarbone, down to the swell of her breast beneath the white fabric. Mia gasped softly, her fingers tightening in Leo's hair, pulling him closer. "I want you right now." Her voice was soft, trembling but fiercely determined. Leo paused, searching her eyes, desire and fear mingling in his gaze. "There's no going back after this. I don't want to go back. If this is a sin, I want to sin with you all the way." No more words were needed. They lost themselves in a symphony of the night, every sensation pushed to the edge. Every touch, every caress, every gasp, every whispered, "I love you." "Don't stop." echoing in the darkness. Leo's hands explored every inch of Mia's body. She answered with fiery kisses, her small hands gliding along his spine, feeling every muscle tense with feeling. They melted into each other, all limits gone, longing to possess and be possessed, to love and to be allowed to love, no matter how secret. After the climax, they lay together, Mia's head resting on Leo's arm, their breathing slowing. Leo stroked Mia's hair, pressing soft kisses to her forehead, whispering, "I'll never forget tonight." Mia smiled, eyes closed, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She didn't know if it was happiness or the ache of impending loss. "Promise me, never speak of this secret, not even to yourself." Leo nodded, holding Mia tightly, his chest rising with her every breath. Outside, the wind swept through the pines, the sound of crickets filled the air, moonlight bathed their entwined bodies. Beneath the summer sky, in a house heavy with memories, with longing too deep to put into words. That night was the first Mia belonged entirely to Leo, and the first they both realized, the greater the secret, the more ferocious the desire, and the more dangerous the love, the more impossible it was to stop. The next morning, they quietly left the attic. Mia returned to her own room, laying silently for a long time, hugging her pillow, her chest still tingling with the memory of the night before. Leo walked down to the lake, eyes fixed on the misty horizon. They tried to act calm, but both knew this secret could not stay hidden forever. In every look across the table, every accidental touch, they felt it. Adults beginning to wonder, children starting to ask questions, and the more they tried to hide, the more obvious it became. That afternoon, Mia's mother noticed her collar askew, the faint red mark of a secret kiss still on her skin. Her mother frowned, only asked a vague question, and Mia stammered, quickly running off for a scarf. Leo was no better. Jealousy flared whenever he saw Mia laughing with friends or relatives, but he had to hide every feeling beneath the mask of cousin. That night, Mia couldn't sleep. She sat in the hallway outside the attic, knees hugged to her chest, eyes shining with unshed tears. Leo opened the door, saw her, and sat down beside her, pulling her into his arms. "Don't cry, I'm here. I'm scared. I don't want to lose you." Leo held Mia close, burying his face in her hair, breathing in her scent. "No matter what happens, I won't let you go." They stayed there a long time, until the night mist coated the eaves, the chill seeped through their clothes, but Leo's warmth was enough to make Mia feel safe. She knew, from that night on, nothing would be simple again. Their secret had crossed the line, and every heartbeat now was a challenge to fate itself. The last day of summer arrived faster than anyone could have expected. An afternoon storm swept in without warning. Black clouds gathered above the lake, and the wind whipped the curtains so hard that the windows rattled and banged against the walls of the lake house. The air in the villa was thick with 1,000 unspoken feelings, the kind that had no chance to be voiced. All afternoon, Mia hovered in the kitchen, trying to avoid the watchful eyes of her mother and grandparents. Leo, too, had all but disappeared, drifting between the attic and the garden, standing for hours gazing out over the gray, cold water. A silent witness to so many of their secrets. That final dinner was eaten in a heavy, nervous silence. Everyone was tired from preparing for the birthday party. The only sounds were the clink of cutlery, the wind whistling through the cracks in the windows, and the first patter of rain on the roof. Mia tried to act calm, but every glance from her mother or sudden question made her heart clench and sweat bead on her forehead. When the meal ended, her mother told Mia to go up and rest, and Leo excused himself to check the boat. The kids scrambled up the stairs, leaving just the adults at the table, sitting in silence over cups of tea. Mia went to her room, but couldn't sleep. Rain battered the window, thunder flickered in the distance, each flash lighting her room before plunging it back into darkness. Her heart was heavy with dread, as if everything was about to fall apart before it could be saved. Suddenly, her phone vibrated with a message. "Leo, come to the boathouse by the lake. I'll be waiting." Without thinking, Mia grabbed a sweater and slipped quietly from her room, moving like a cat through the dark hallway. The cold wind slapped her face, her dress soaked through in seconds, but she didn't stop. She ran across the yard, feet slipping in the rain-soaked mud, her heart pounding as if it would burst. The boathouse lamp glowed faintly in the rain, its golden light leaking from the crack beneath the door, a secret signal only they would understand. Leo was waiting, drenched, t-shirt clinging to his skin, hair dripping. When he saw Mia, he rushed out, pulled her into his arms and slammed the door shut behind them, sealing them off from the world. "I'm freezing." Leo held Mia tight, his hands rubbing warmth along her spine, the heat from his skin melting every trace of cold. "I thought I'd never get to see you alone again." Mia reached up, fingers tangled in his hair, pulling his face down close to hers. "If this is the last night, I want to keep you with me. Nothing else matters. No more words." They crashed into each other, wild and desperate, as if they might lose one another forever. Leo's lips found Mia's, tasting of rain, of tears, and the sharp bitterness of looming goodbye. His hands moved down her back, tugging her sweater over her head, laying her tiny body on the thin mattress by the window, with only the sound of rain and their heavy breathing filling the room. Mia wrapped her legs around Leo, holding him as if she could stop him from vanishing into the storm. Her hands shook as she undid his buttons, feeling his chest burning, his heartbeat pounding so loud she could hear it. Leo's lips traced her neck, her shoulders, every soft line, his large hands exploring every inch of bare skin, as if trying to carve each sensation into memory. Mia moaned, her body arching into every touch, eyes shut to feel every fiber, every breath, every teardrop tangled with ecstasy. Outside, the storm howled, but inside the boathouse was a world apart. Just the two of them, nothing but wild longing, whispered, "I love you. Don't let go," their breaths and the rain blurring every forbidden line. Leo and Mia belonged to each other, wave after wave of passion pulling them under, until fear and reason melted away beneath hands and lips and need never spoken aloud. When they were spent, Mia lay with her head on Leo's arm, hair tangled, face streaked with rain and tears. He stroked her hair for a long time, kissed her forehead like a silent farewell. "Tonight is our night. So I don't want morning to come." Leo pulled Mia closer, both bodies still trembling with the night's wildness. The rain stopped as dawn approached. They drifted to sleep in each other's arms, for the first time at peace after so many days of tension, guilt, and longing. Whatever tomorrow brought, tonight they had dared to live their truth, dared to love, even if only in secret. As the first light of morning seeped through the window, Mia woke first. She lay still, listening to Leo's heartbeat, his warm breath on her neck. In that fleeting moment, Mia knew this stormy night would never fade, that it would mark her forever, not as a sin, but as the memory of a love that had crossed every boundary. Leo woke, his eyes red from sleeplessness, still holding Mia as if he feared she'd disappear with the sunrise. They said nothing, only stared at each other for a long time, letting every promise and every regret flow through their gaze. Only when the shouts of adults rang out from the villa did they reluctantly part, pulling on their clothes, fixing their hair, wiping away the traces of a sleepless night. Leo pressed one last kiss to Mia's lips, whispering, "Whatever happens, I will always love you." Mia nodded, squeezed his hand one last time, then slipped back across the yard to her room, where only his warmth lingered on her skin. Tears still dampened her pillow, and her heart belonged to no one but Leo. Dawn lit the lake, golden sunlight slipping through the windows, revealing every lingering raindrop on the leaves, every breeze rustling the wildflowers. But inside the lake house, the air was heavy, thick with secrets that had only just come to light after a sleepless night of wild love. Mia slipped back to her own room, collapsing on her bed, closing her eyes as if to cling to the last warmth left on her skin. Her heart still trembled each time she remembered Leo's arms, the whisper of "don't let go" echoing through the rain outside the boathouse. She knew everything would have to change. No one could run from reality forever. No matter how far you tried to go, in the end you had to face it. The sound of footsteps in the hall signaled that everyone was up. Mia fixed her dress, washed her face for a long time to erase any trace of a sleepless night. She forced a smile as she walked down to the kitchen, helping her mother make tea, reminding herself to stay calm. But her hands shook, her eyes drifted away every time someone called her name. Everything seemed to pass quietly until her mother's voice cut through the air, each word hard and clear. "Mia, where were you last night? Your bed's untouched and your clothes are all soaked." Mia froze. The whole family stared at her, some eyes curious, some brows furrowed in suspicion. Mia stammered, forcing a shaky smile. I just went out to the boathouse to get some fresh air. I couldn't sleep, so I stayed out there a while." Her mother said nothing more, but her gaze seemed to pierce through every defense. Leo was there too, his look filled with worry, his hand clenched tight on the table, as if one wrong move would shatter every secret. Breakfast passed in heavy silence. Afterward, Mia's mother pulled her upstairs, closed the door, her voice soft but cold. "There's something going on between you and Leo, isn't there?" Mia was speechless, frozen with fear. She looked into her mother's eyes, feeling dread spread through every nerve. "No, there's nothing, Mom." "Don't lie. I woke up in the night, saw Leo's light on, and you were gone. This morning you came back, eyes all red, clothes dripping wet. What's going on between you two?" Mia broke down, unable to hold it in any longer. Tears streamed down her cheeks, her hands twisted the hem of her dress. "I'm sorry, Mom, I don't know why it happened." Her mother sighed, sitting beside her, gently stroking Mia's hair. "Mia, there are things in life that once you go too far, you can never come back from. Do you understand?" Mia nodded, tears still falling. "I know, but I love him. This love will only bring you both pain, my girl." The conversation ended with a quiet embrace, no angry words, only the helpless pain of a mother witnessing her daughter's first heartbreak. Mia knew all secrets would eventually come to light, and she would have to choose. That entire day, Mia didn't leave her room. Leo vanished as well, sitting for hours by the lake. Toward evening, Mia stuffed a few small things in her bag, a faded letter, a seashell, a photo of the two of them laughing, and crept down to the dock, knowing Leo would be waiting. Leo sat alone on the wooden dock, staring into the gray distance, looking years older after a single night. Mia sat beside him, silent for a long time before speaking. "Mom knows now." Leo wasn't surprised, just sighed, his eyes still on the lake. "I figured she would. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do." "Don't apologize. If I had to choose again, I'd still love you this way." They sat together in silence, the lake wind cold on their cheeks, tiny waves lapping at their feet. Mia's fingers found Leo's, holding tight as if to keep the feeling alive a moment longer. "I'm leaving for the city tomorrow." "As I know." "Silence. I won't come say goodbye, I can't bear it. I don't want you to, but I'll remember you for the rest of my life." "Me too." They leaned on each other, letting tears fall quietly, not wanting to speak anymore. Every hug, every touch, every heartbeat was the last. Mia leaned in, kissing Leo long and deep. A kiss salty with tears and full of all the pain they'd never put into words. Goodbye, Leo. Goodbye, Mia." The next day, Mia left the lake house in the morning sunlight, riding in her mother's car, looking through the window at the garden of wild daisies, at the still lake, at the porch where Leo used to wait for her every afternoon. Leo stood at the attic window, watching the car disappear behind the pines, where summer had ended, where youth and wild dreams lingered only as a bittersweet echo. No final words were spoken, but both Mia and Leo knew, even if the boundaries had been restored, even if the secret was buried deep in memory, that summer, with all its madness, taboo, and sweet pain, would forever be an unerasable scar on their hearts. In the days after leaving the lake house, Mia felt as if she were living between two worlds, one of them present, filled with the noise of traffic, university assignments, friends, polite laughter, and all the responsibilities of adulthood. The other buried deep in memory, where it was always summer, the water forever blue, laughter forever ringing under the porch, where Leo's warm hands lingered, every touch and breath, and all those long nights belonged only to the two of them. At first, Mia tried to lose herself in her new routine. She threw herself into her studies, rushed through campus parties, even tried opening her heart to new relationships. She laughed at her friends' jokes, spoke to her mother in a calmer tone, pretended everything had gone back to normal. But every night, as she lay down in the dark, Mia would find herself transported back to the lake house, where with closed eyes, she could still hear Leo's urgent breathing in her ear, still feel the warmth on her skin, still remember every kiss and every salty tear from that final night apart. For Leo, that summer became a sweet, haunting scar. He stayed at the lake house for another week to clean up, drifting through the empty house, sitting for hours on the wooden dock just staring at the silent water, sometimes wondering if it all had been a dream. The old photographs, Mia's sweater forgotten on the bed, a few long hairs caught on the pillow, these small things became more precious than anything else. Each night, Leo would lie by the fireplace, close his eyes, and imagine Mia still there, her arms wrapped around his neck, whispering love into the darkness. They kept in touch, carefully. A few texts to check in, some random stories about school, family, or just a heart emoji, a flower, a tiny smile. Neither ever mentioned the lake house, and even more, never the summer itself, as if even touching the memory would shatter it into 1,000 pieces they could never gather again. Time passed and Mia grew up. She had a few fleeting relationships, but none of them reached the deep, hidden places of her soul. Sometimes, in a quiet afternoon, she would open Leo's old letter, a hurried note folded into a heart, messy handwriting, every word trembling with love and regret. Reading it, her tears would fall quietly, unsure whether it was for sorrow or the certainty that no one would ever replace him in that secret part of her heart. It was the same for Leo. After that fateful summer, he lived more carefully, grew up faster, but deep down he always kept a lake house of his own, a place no one else knew about. Sometimes in a crowded street, he'd spot a girl with long black hair and a petite figure, and his heart would ache. On rainy nights, Leo would lie quietly, letting memories flood over him, closing his eyes and wishing just once more to hold Mia in his arms, no matter the cost. And then, one day, fate brought them together again. It was a late afternoon in the city, on a small street dappled with trees, Mia rushing across the road after class when she suddenly stopped. She looked up, and there was Leo's gaze, still the same, deep and warm, filled with all the summers they'd shared. Both of them froze, the world pausing for a single heartbeat. Mia smiled softly, her eyes shining with both joy and sadness. Leo smiled too, a gentle smile tinged with longing. Neither moved closer, neither spoke. They simply looked at each other for a long, long moment, as if to say everything with no words at all. When the rush of people swept by, Mia gave a small nod, turning away. Leo stood still for a while, fingers clutching the folded letter in his pocket, before walking away toward the setting sun. Maybe they would never return to the lake house again. Maybe that forbidden love would remain just a quiet echo in their hearts, beautiful, haunting, forever unforgettable. But both Leo and Mia knew those memories made them who they were today. They dared to love, dared to live honestly, dared to keep for themselves a summer no one else could ever know. In every dream, in every page of her journal, in every moment of weakness, the lake house still remained, reflecting back the two young souls who once dared to cross every line, just to love each other completely, if only for one perfect summer.